Welcome back to The Guardians of Lore, Chapter 18, Sebastian. I didn't have to wonder how long the fall was after that. I listened to Soy scream at the top of his lungs for about 2 minutes before he was deposited on the ground in front of me, with Deli on his stomach. She looked as though she had actually enjoyed the experience. "See, now that's the kind of fun we should be having more of," she said. So I pointed his fingers at both of us and said, "You, Cal, are a liar, and royalty or not, you are a weird little frog." Deli hopped up towards the dock and inspected the lake. "Oh my," she gasped. "What is it?" I asked worriedly. Deli replied, "This lake had rules in it. It's the waste that left over when Ryle and lore are used in large quantities. It all occurs naturally, but there's a reason why it is buried so deep in the mountain. As legend goes, it turns anything it touches into food or magical creatures." "What are you saying? It could transform us into dragon food?" asked Swai. "Or warlock food, or troll food, or ogre food. The legend doesn't really specify," she answered. I looked across the lake and saw another spot of land. It was the only other one in sight. It led to a bright purple door. "There," I said, pointing. "That's where we need to go." "Great, and did you happen to hear about the lake of death in front of us, just waiting to turn us into Cal and Soy smoothie?" So I answered with frustration. "I can assist with that," someone said. The voice we heard came from the dock. A small metal boat had appeared without us noticing. It was towing an even smaller dahi the size of a milk crate. A thin rope connected the two. The voice belonged to the short creature who could barely see over the sides of his boat. His ears rose a few inches above his head, and his pointy snout had silver whiskers. He held a large oar that was at least 3 times his size. He stepped up and stood on the bow of the boat to reveal himself fully. The gray fuzz on his body seemed to ruffle in a breeze from the lake. There was no way around what I was seeing. That was an abnormally large talking mouse. "Who are you?" asked Deli forcefully. "I am Sebastian. I row the boat from this side to that, waiting for passengers," he answered calmly. So I mouthed the word mouse at me and pointed towards Sebastian. "And how many passengers have you had down here?" I asked. Sebastian looked at me with his beady eyes and gave a smirk. "You will be my first. You know, you're gonna need to revisit that whole animals don't talk thing," said Swai to Deli. There was no way across without his boat. That much was clear. Without a word, I stepped inside. It only wobbled a little, but it was enough to make me uneasy. Sebastian held us steady by keeping his paw on the dock. "Careful now, we wouldn't want you falling in," he said with a hint of amusement. "We don't have a choice," I said to Deli and Soy, "and there's no turning back now." "He's right," said Deli, as she hopped aboard. So I followed slowly, looking around the boat, and then staring at Sebastian through squinted eyes. Now that we were closer, I could smell the roots. It smelled like raspberries that had gone bad, real bad. In fact, if zombies' raspberries were a thing, they would smell like roots. "What do you eat out here, rowing back and forth all day long?" So I asked him, still suspicious. Sebastian pushed off his oar and began turning the boat towards the other side of the lake. The smaller boat followed behind as we moved forward. "I do not require much food," he answered. Sebastian rowed us steadily out into the open water, alternating sides with his oar. "And what do we owe you for the trip?" asked Deli. I hadn't thought of that. If Sebastian set a price too steep, I wouldn't know what to do. "There is no cost, princess," he answered. I ask only for your company." He had called Deli princess, and we had all heard it. I didn't know what that meant, but it definitely meant something. So I was glaring at Sebastian through even smaller eyes. A few minutes later, we had reached what I thought was the center of the lake. I could tell because the light glowed brightest here, like a chandelier. Hey, Sebastian, so I said, I've got some crackers for you in my pocket if you could get us there faster. Sebastian plunged his oar beneath the surface, and the boat stopped dead. I'm afraid I can't get you there faster. In fact, I can't get you there at all, Sebastian said, turning around to face us. Hey, so I said with concern, I didn't make anything by it. You can row whatever speed you like, just definitely keep rowing. I'm sorry, he replied, but there is a leak in the boat, and we cannot continue. Sebastian pointed to the middle of the boat. All of a sudden, the purple liquid started to seep into the boat from a hole too small to see. Swai and Deli jumped towards the front with Sebastian, and I scrambled to the back. The putrid smell added to my panic. The ruse was filling the boat more and more by the second. Deli jumped onto Swai's shoulders, and we both lifted our feet onto the wooden planks meant for sitting. Sebastian didn't move. What's happening? I shouted. There must be something you can do, Sebastian. There is, he said, but only for one of you. The dinghy behind us can fit a single soul. Any more, no matter the size, and it would sink into the lake forever. I stared at Deli and Swai from across the boat. They were scared. I was scared too. It's got to be you, said Deli. You're the only one who can stop Reem. Swai looked at me with a sad smile and nodded. I know you can do it, he said. My eyes started to water. I looked at the liquid pouring in and shook my head. Then I turned to look at the dinghy behind me. Finally, I looked back at my friends. I won't, I said, staring right at Sebastian. I won't do it. I won't leave them. This is not how my story ends. Sebastian stared back at me with fierce eyes, then gave way to a great big smile. Very well, he said, laying down his oar. Sebastian jumped down from his perch and landed directly in the purple pool before us. It disappeared in a puff of smoke. A fine choice, he continued. It is true that my dinghy can only take one soul, but that soul is me and only me. He strode past me, walking on the wooden planks inside the boat, and then jumped inside his dinghy. Had you chosen to leave them, you would have perished in the lake, Sebastian said as he ended the rope connecting us. Good luck, Cal, and remember one thing, you were chosen for a reason. Thank you, I replied. I didn't know what else to say. It was all so confusing. By the time I grabbed the oar at the front of the boat, Sebastian was out of sight. I felt Swai pat me on the back as I started rowing. Hey, you didn't leave us, he said. Of course I didn't, I replied, wiping my eyes. I wouldn't be much of a hero without you, too. I quickly realized why Sebastian had been rowing so slowly. Any faster and I would risk sending drops from the lake back at my friends. I wasn't sure what Sebastian's role was in all of this, but I wondered if I had misjudged him. It took about 10 minutes to reach the dock on the far side of the lake. The two landings were identical, except that in place of a tunnel, this one had an archway with large purple double doors. Two flaming torches burned on either side, just like the doors before. There was a carving in the center. This one was a dwarf, okay? So maybe I had never seen a dwarf, but it wouldn't really be anything else. The figure had a long braided beard and a wide browny face. He held a hammer and a small shovel in his crossed arms, two of my favorite tools. That it is, I said aloud. I don't know what will be on the other side, Deli warned. I don't think I'll want to know anyway, said Swai. With a push from all three of us, the door swung open.